Welcome to the Landscape Photography Vlogcast, hosted by myself, Tom Peters, aka the Photo Ninja, all the way up north, Paul Thompson Photography, and truth mate, it's Matt Bishop. We cover all things photography and chat to some of the best photography minds in the business. Put your feet up, the kettle on, and let's jump straight into this week's Vlogcast.
Right, welcome to the Vlogcast. What's everyone been up to this week or this last month? When was the last time we did one?
Not that long ago.
Was it three weeks ago, probably?
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago.
And we talked about tripods, didn't we?
Yeah. It's a good conversation. I enjoyed it. I hope people out there liked it. I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, I got some feedback saying they enjoyed it. I got some good feedback.
Yeah. That was nice. We talked about tripods for like an hour and 77 minutes or something.
Yeah, we just turned it off yesterday.
Absolutely. That's right, yeah.
The same 3 legs for 177 minutes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we brought up another topic on the Facebook group, rather than bringing someone else in and, interviewing someone else. These conversations about gear is it's quite interesting topic to discuss, I think, on a podcast. And probably the feedback on the group wasn't quite as active as the one about tripods. Do you think that is the case because in the digital era, people aren't using filters as much as what they used to?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Possibly.
No, I definitely think people were switching to circular filters. Well, I have anyway. I definitely think the square filters are a harder sell now.
So when you're referring to square and circular filters, do you mean as in polarizers, or are you actually just referring just to the actual shape itself?
The lack of grads. Yeah. So instead of using a square grad filter, I tend to bracket my shots and exposure blend or whatever afterwards. But that's not down to me not wanting to use them. I quite like using square filters. If I got loads of time, and I used to do seascapes and things, when you got a flat horizon, I used to quite enjoy using square filters. And since getting more into the woodlands, I find myself using. I don't use them, my grads at all in the woods.
Well, there's no need for them in woods, is there? Really? I mean, let's face it. I mean, all it comes down is the the dynamic range in your sensor. There's no need for, unless you've got some type of skyline coming in. But even then, I mean, why would you want to put an ND filter in a woodland? Your objective in a woodland is to get the highest shutter speed possible, isn't it? Yeah. You don't need to take out any unwanted light.
Yeah.
So
yes, definitely. And I like for that same reason, I don't really even use a polarizer that much anymore.
I use them all the time, but I prefer to use them in a woodland because I like to cut a bit of that reflection out. But grads are pointless really in a forest environment because I don't know about you, but I'm trying to cut as much sky out as possible in the forest. I don't want any in if I can help it.
Oh yeah, I'm the same. That's my number one objective. As soon as I shut that door in the car, is how am I going to eliminate this horrible sky?
Yeah.
But yeah, normally because when it's generally muddy and cloudy in UK, and it's just a bit blah. So
and distracting more than anything. You get those kind of bright highlights in parts of the image you don't really want them.
No.
Yeah, well, it is, isn't it? I mean, in a woodland shot, you're talking about the majority of the time, they're more intimate shots and, your focal point is on a tree or something. I mean, the sky isn't really of interest, is it, in a woodland shot?
No.
Not
a lot of the time, anyway. Not a lot of the time.
No. So, yeah, that's my opinion on grads. But, filters, I think, have a massive part in photography. I think they always probably will.
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
Yeah, but in terms of grads, I think it might just be maybe it's just a bit of a trend thing. Wooden photography is very popular at the moment, and Photoshop and Lightroom is easier to access and get tutorials. So people will learn how to exposure blend more.
I think it's a case of gear as well, isn't it? Carrying gear around.
That's it, yeah.
It's just more stuff to clutter your bag up.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so if we're going to talk about filters, let's step backwards. Okay, let's understand why filters, came along to begin with. We had film cameras and, we didn't have the technology available that we do in digital now to manipulate light. And so basically the only way of taking an image in one single shot was to actually use these filters to our benefit. So, we used CPR, circular polarizing filters or polarizing filters. And we use those mainly to cut out unwanted light, unwanted reflection, to cut through glare. I mean, that was the reasons why CPLs were there. And then we move on to, neutral density filters. So you've got various forms of neutral density filters to various stops, from a 10 stop, which is sort of a more modern day ND filter, down to a 2 or 3 stop filter. And then we have your graduated. So, they gradually go from dark down to clear, or, you would have a soft graduated or a hard graduated filter. So you could use them in seascapes, or you could use them in conditions where you had an inconsistent background. So you could use that soft transition to help you get, that balance in your dynamic range in film photography. And so these forms of filters were used to help you get everything in that one shot. But, now that we have digital, and especially, post-production techniques have developed over the years, and they're getting more and more advanced, people are finding that they're not needing them as much, especially because the dynamic range of digital cameras is so damn powerful now. You can take a shot from, with a good camera, 6 to 10 stops with a dynamic range from your shadows to your highlights. So people aren't feeling the need to actually have that, because you can, if you're good in post-production, you can actually either bracket and blend, or you can actually just darken your unwanted lights, or vice versa in post-production. So the need for actual neutral density isn't as high as what it was. But I think that polarizers still play an important part in digital photography, because glare, reflection, even saturation, natural saturation isn't something that you can produce that well in post-production. So polarizers still play a pretty damn important part in digital photography. I think they always will, because it's something that has been manipulated optically, not digitally. Yeah. And I don't think you're going to be able to take that away.
No. No, definitely not. I think a CP, my polarizer is always on the front of my lens.
Okay.
And I would generally, depending on what Paul said earlier about the glare, if it's been raining, I want to. There's always a fine line between cutting through some of that wet glare and losing and trying to increase the bits of saturation, from that the deep greens and stuff you get.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. Polarizers is a must for me.
Yeah.
And again, when you're shooting seascapes or waterfalls or anything like that, and you want to control whether you want to be able to, that sheen you get on the water, whether you want to see through it, or if you want to shoot minimal things, polarizers are really good as well. To sort of simplify and clean things up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have their benefits, but also at the same time, I think probably, I know for one, I've probably found within the last year or so, I've actually, going back and looking over a lot of the stuff I've done, I found that a lot of the time these polarizers that I've literally almost religiously had, mounted on my camera, they're cutting through atmosphere. And I'm realizing more and more and more the pickier I get as years go on, that, hey,
what?
I want
You picky? You picky?
No. I'm not like Uncle Grumpy, that mate of yours. I'm not that bad. Come on.
You got high standards, mate, ain't you?
No.
No?
No, not at all.
No, he's got no standards at all.
No, I'm saying So I feel that, polarizers, they can sometimes cut through an atmosphere you actually want, because sometimes that wanted atmosphere that helps you give dimension and helps you give a true light can sometimes a powerful polarizer, when you use it too much or you actually, turn it too much and turn it to full, it basically, it can cut out, some of that beautiful atmosphere that you want in an image that gives you dimension, gives you something that you actually felt in that moment. So, there's the pros and cons with it, but
Yeah. I was going to say, I asked you two a question. Sometimes when you're shooting in the woods and it might be early and maybe you didn't quite get the fog you hoped for. Have you ever taken an image and then when you got back, you've realised that there's atmosphere there that maybe your eye couldn't see? You know what I mean? Like in the far distance, sometimes you can see the atmosphere way off in the distance. And when you're there in the moment, you don't quite often see that, if you know what I mean. I've quite often found that recently.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's just the Sony, where it might be a characteristic of the Sony, I don't really know, but I have noticed that there is atmosphere there that maybe your human eye doesn't see sometimes.
Yeah, I suppose it all comes down to depth too, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
When you're talking about depth of field too, especially if you're not using a polarizer, obviously the more distant you get from the subject, your contrast should actually decrease. So
yeah,
I suppose it's probably got more to do with decreased contrast in a distance that might give you that sense of atmosphere, which is really important, isn't it? So if you're overusing a polarizer too much, you actually find that your foreground and your background have pretty much got the same amount of contrast, which is not good.
No.
From a personal point of view, some people do like that punchy everything, sharp foreground to sharp background, same contrast, just very, very dark. But some photographers that just like that softer, more atmospheric type of scene. And I think that polarizers can sometimes can ruin it. Yeah,
it's because people do get into the habit of turning them on full whack. I think that's part of the problem, is to turn them on as far as they can go, and then
but you know what? It's actually hard to understand when you're out on field, especially when you've got a lot of external light going on, or you're looking through your LCD, you're trying to look through your viewfinder to actually see how much you're turning it on.
Yeah,
it's not easy to sometimes assess that accuracy down to every last detail of contrast through an LCD or through a viewfinder. It's not until you put it up on your computer screen at home you see it. So,
well, I do know of a certain company that I know making a filter that has markings built on to tell you how much you're putting it on.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually got. I think it's actually clickable as well, so you can click it into various positions.
Sounds like a fad to me.
Yeah, probably. But we all know about those, mate, don't we?
No,
so who's that? Is that Oh God, that brings me back to the days of sorry, I'm just changing subject now. What was the name of that French company? That Koken. There you go. God, that's an old name. There you go. Is it Koken that's doing that now? Is it or
no?
No.
Think closer to home, I think, mate.
They had all sorts of weird stuff, didn't they? Coking. Blooming sepia filters and all sorts of weird things.
Okay, but you get to think of the days when filters came out. All right, when I first started out, there wasn't too many options. There was Stingray, I think, were in the States. There was Lee, which were probably the biggest, but the most expensive at the time. Yeah. And then you had these resin filters, which were a little bit more economical, but they were still quite expensive, and that was Coken. And they were resin filters, and a lot of people bought them.
Yeah.
They were very, very popular. And horrible things. You know, if I used them now, I'd be shocked. But
I always remember the Lee ones being resin. The original, when I first got into it.
They are. Well, they've changed now. I'm not sure what glass they're using now, but it has. They have evolved recently because they had to. That was the market was going in that direction, so they had to change.
When I first got my case ones, and I thought, oh my God, I can actually wipe them clean in one go. Doing seascapes, them Lee resin ones is an absolute waste of time. Yeah,
because they just smudged like hell, didn't they?
I think I've still got my Coken filters in the cupboard somewhere, and I think they've still got the original smudge marks from the very first time I ever used them still on there.
And the only way I could ever get that, especially with seawater, you know, even if you're not getting splashed, you're getting that sort of residue in you.
Yeah, the spray. Yeah,
and only alcohol wipe every time would get rid of it, and then 30 seconds later, it's all back on there again.
Yeah,
it's just you get home and all your shots are all milky and shit. That's so annoying. You think I've paid 150 quid for this one grad, and it's shit.
So what filters did you start out with, Tom? What was your first filter kit that you bought?
I bought Lee. I bought Lee grads because they were cheaper. Than the Nissi ones, because the Nissi were glass. But I didn't really like the Lee holder, so I bought the Nissi holder, and the Lee grads. Okay. And then eventually I bought Nissi. I switched the Lee ones out for Nissi. Eventually, but yeah. And then I got involved with case, and then now I've got case. But yeah, the Lee.
I had various cheap crap to start with. I think I might have had Coken to start with. Then I went down the road of
Amazon Basics.
UK company SRB Photographic did like an elite range, their elite range. And they were pretty good for the money. They were good value. I mean, they weren't 100% the best, but they were good value for money. You got a decent shot through them. And then after that, I got involved with Breakthrough, and then that's been it ever since. Not looked back since then.
What about you then, mate?
I started off with Coken. So what was that? 2002, I think. And I think all through the film era, I kept using Coken. And just because back then, just information was very hard to come by, so you didn't really know too much about what was out there. And there was Lee, but Lee was expensive. Back then, I was a young kid. I didn't have much money. And photography for me didn't evolve much during the film era. It was just an experimental phase, but it never really evolved. I just got used to how to take photos, just do everything in camera, but it never went, it was never an addiction. It was just a very, it was just a hobby. And I just, the gear I bought was the gear I kept, and I kept using it. I was just happy just with the images I was getting back then on film, and never really thought about changing. And it wasn't until I started with digital that I realised that, hey, this is affecting my photography, and that's when, all the gear started getting an upgrade. Yeah. And my first filters that I actually bought with digital were Breakthrough. And what was that, 5 years ago, probably, I think. I think originally with digital the first few years, I probably didn't even use filters at all. I had a CPL, an older Japanese brand CPL. I can't even think of the name of it. Mayumi, I think it was called. Mayumi CPLs, Mayumi. So I was using that, which is still an excellent CPL. I was using that, but I started getting into CPLs, when Breakthrough first came out. And I was using their circular CPLs and their ND circulars. And I noticed there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But I had to get a new filter kit because I invested in a very wide angle lens with a bulging, this bulging lens coming out the front. And you couldn't use a traditional holder. You actually had to use these filter holders that actually got mounted on the outside of the casing of the lens itself. And so I had to change system. And when I went to change system, there was only a couple of options out there. One of them was Wonder Panner, which is a US brand, I believe, quite big in the US. And Nizia just started off. And then there was Case. And one of the guys from Case, said to me, why don't you try out our gear? So I gave it a go, and I was pretty impressed with them. So I was using them a lot originally because Case, that you use them, Tom, and they're very neutral. They're
they are good. Yeah,
they're resistant. They're very resistant to scratching and to smudging and everything else. And so I'm still using Case now, but like as I said. Now I'm actually stepping backwards. I'm finding I'm actually not using filters as much now. I've got various filters for different types of lenses, all Case gear, and I'm just finding that it's not as important. Probably the two occasions where I would use them more than anything else would be, one, to cut out reflections with the CPL. I tend to probably leave glare in these days, to be honest. And the second case where I would use filters now is NDs, basically to reduce my shutter speed. Yeah. And that's something you can't do in post-production, those two things. You can't cut out reflections in post-production, and you can't reduce shutter speed. If I'm in a condition where I've got a relatively strong light and I want to take a picture of waterfall at, 1/10 of a second, and if my ISO is all the way down to its minimum and, my f-stop is as high as it can get, as high as I want it to anyway, I never want to go for f14 or f16 at the most. And if I can't get that desired shutter speed, an ND filter has to go on. There's no second choice with it.
No.
For me, there's the two occasions where I use them now, but it ends there. It ends there. Yeah. If I want to darken a sky, you darken a sky in post-production, and you can do a far much better job of it. We've got such huge dynamic ranges in our sensors now. There's no need for it.
Yeah, that's why. To be honest, the most that lives on my lens is a dark CPL, so I get the best of both worlds. So I've got like a 3-stop ND and a CPL built in together. So that means I'm covered for both circumstances, and that lives on the front of my lens.
Basically. It lives on the front of your lens,
really? Pretty much, because I do a lot of water, and a lot of the time I need to kind of slow it down enough.
Okay.
So it pretty much lives on there unless I'm in the woods or something like that, and I don't want it.
Have you found that having that glass, though, having that darkened glass with a CPL, is that affecting, the potential of your lens optically because you actually have such an amount of important glass on the front of it? Do you think about that ever? Like, hey, I've got a $1,500 lens on the front of my camera, and I'm then sticking on a piece of engineered glass on front of that could potentially destroy the optics of my lens or the potential of my lens.
No, it never really bothers me, to be honest.
Okay.
I've never actually noticed that it degrades my images at all. to be honest with you.
Okay.
Never honestly noticed. The older filters I would have noticed. The older filters, certainly. Every opportunity I would have taken those off. But with these ones, I don't feel the need to take them off that often.
What about you, Tom? Do you think about
that? Same as Paul, really. Not now. Whether I'm using less filters anyway. I feel the same way about you, by the way, about my workflow is exactly the same as yours by the sound of it.
Yeah.
But no, not with the case ones. Like you mentioned earlier, they're so neutral, which fills me with confidence straight away.
Yeah.
And I just think there's so much detail in like the camera I use. These modern cameras these days. I don't really not for what I do. If I was doing a paid job, where like some of the prints you sold recently, some of the big ass prints, would I think about it then? Maybe I would think, do I absolutely need to use a polarizer? I would probably, I might think about it then, but no, not weekly. I don't think about it at all, really.
Okay.
Not with case anyway.
Yeah, they're good. They've definitely got good glass. Probably, I would say I'm not that recently updated with filters as probably what I was 18 months ago. But 18 months ago, case were probably, I would have to say probably in at least the top 3 out there. I switched over to them, like I said, because I needed a holder for this lens, this 15 to 30 lens I had with Pentax. But I did my research on them, and the glass they use is I think it was at the time. Maybe it's changed now. I don't know what they're bringing out now, but at the time I think it's Scott B270 glass. So it's ridiculously neutral glass, and they put their own coatings on it to give it the smudge resistance and all the rest. I know that Breakthrough is the same. They do use Scott glass. I'm not sure what type of coatings they use on it.
The nano coating. It's a nano coating.
They got the nano. See, the nano coating it's scratch. Well, it did at the time. It was not as scratch resistant.
This one doesn't. He must have changed it because this one doesn't.
Yeah. So I'm talking probably 4 or 5 years ago now. Well, maybe even more, actually. When they first came out, I don't know. Maybe the guys from Breakthrough can tell us how long they've been around for. But the difference between Case and Breakthrough that I found more than anything else was the Breakthrough, especially the circular filters, they've got a beautiful grip on the outside and actually easy to use, whereas Case aren't that easy to use.
No.
I don't know if you've got those magnetic filters.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
They're horrible to turn, aren't they?
They are. I totally agree.
They've got this very thin thread on the outside, and you try and turn them, and I just think, like, guys, just put some grip on it. What's it cost you?
Yeah, they've really gone down the thin route, haven't they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have found that, yeah. I find the trouble is I think with Case, I found that the lens caps are not, the magnets are not strong enough. I quite often not knock them off, but they would fall. They fall off my bag when I put my camera bag in. The lens cap falls off, and I find that the filters are really strong. So when you turn them, it feels like you're sort of like grinding 2 bits of metal together, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But I think they've come out with new lens caps now, so they might have sorted that out. But I must admit, I'm going up to see Paul this weekend, well, tomorrow, and I am looking forward to having a little look at the Breakthrough filters. Yeah, because they do look, optically, I know they're probably just as good as Case, from what Paul says, and the fact they have got that little extra bit of grip around the outside.
Yeah, it does make a difference. I mean, like I said, like I said, I mean, when I switched over from breakthrough to case, the nano coating, as Paul was saying, wasn't quite as resistant as case. I've still got all my old filters now, and I've got various case filters, and they haven't got a scratch on them. If I get my old breakthroughs out, they got scratches all over them. They weren't quite as resistant.
Yeah.
And when you're clumsy out on field like I am, it's pretty important. Obviously, if it doesn't affect your image at the end, because you put these coatings on there, you want to make sure that they're neutral, don't you? You don't want to affect you.
Like Paul said, I reckon they must have changed them, because when I first had my Nissi filters, they were all nano coated, and they used to scratch. So rotten.
They still scratch, mate. They still scratch.
Yeah, like even your fingers. When you're holding them, you'd see like around the outside, it would be all like smeared and smudged, which didn't obviously affect the image, unless you were shooting really wide. I don't even know if it would affect it then. But I did notice that with the Nissi filters. But I don't know whether the Nissi still use the nano coating. I don't know what they must.
Oh, I don't know what coating they use, but they're just ridiculously delicate pieces of glass. I mean, if you drop it, if you even drop it on grass, I presume it would break. I mean, I've heard. That's a lot of the reasons why I didn't go to Nissi originally, just because they were very delicate. The coatings on them were no good. Still use good quality engineered glass, but they were far too delicate at the time. But they're a big name. I think they've invested a lot of money in marketing. They've just got a stack of ambassadors out there, just given so many photographers freebies to do reviews on them, and they've made their name that way, and they're quite big on the market because of that. A lot of people swear by them, say they're brilliant. So it's probably the biggest brand in modern times, isn't it, with regard to filters? I think they've definitely done a good job on marketing to get out there.
Yeah, the holder's good. And the Nissi holder was good. It felt well made. It felt a little bit different to the rest. If I'm honest, I could quite like the filter, and they're always updating the filter. They've got this dual thing now, haven't they?
Yeah, it kind of goes both ways, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know why. What the purpose of that is?
Sounds a bit gimmicky.
Look, how much can you invent filter technology? It gets to a point where it's just they're filters, aren't they? I mean, you can't really do that much more to them and just make them easier to use. I mean, now that we've got the options of actual filters that are built behind the back of the lens itself, they're sitting right in front of your sensor. I don't even know how effective they are, to be honest. I haven't heard that many people talk about them.
No, I haven't. No, like Paul said, I think they come out on the market, and I looked at them. I was interested because that's different. But it's all gone a bit flat on it now, isn't it? Yeah.
Look, Canon brought out a few lenses where you could actually open the lens from the side and slip in the filter.
Yeah, well, they're still on that. Like, this is the latest thing. This is the latest craze. These drop-in filters. Making. But it's all very good. It's all for Canon shooters. Well, not everybody in the world's a Canon shooter. So.
No. Case do Sony ones, don't they? Pretty sure Case do the
they do.
Fits on the in front of the one.
They do, yeah. And then you've got the when you had Irix. I don't know if you heard of Irix lenses.
Yeah.
The Firefly and the Firestone. They brought out these 15mm, 12mm lenses that were very, very cheap, manual focus. To universal lenses, and they came out with that system too, where you can actually drop in the filters at the back.
Yeah,
you don't hear that many people talking about it, do you?
I just don't see it very practical. Do you?
Well, you're going to take your lens off to put something on it, and then stick your lens back on. Oh,
especially a mirrorless. I ain't taking that sucker off, and unless
I have to the sun or something.
No way.
Spend a fortune cleaning my sensor.
There with a rocket blower for 3 hours.
I know. It doesn't do shit neither, does it?
They don't, do they? All you do is just blow the excess dust that sits around the side of your lens mount onto the sensor itself. And
pain in the ass, mate.
If you're watching this, then I assume you're someone who is passionate about both photography and the natural world. Over the last decade, I'm sure you've seen the incredible growth in photography. Everyone has a camera these days, and everyone wants a beautiful nature photo to share with the world. Unfortunately, the passion to capture that image often overrides thoughtfulness. Wildflower fields are being trampled and destroyed. Delicate, unknown locations are being widely advertised, bringing crowds of people, transforming wild places into urban spaces. Regulations, private property, and the well-being of wildlife are ignored in the pursuit of an image for Instagram. If such things weigh heavily on you, consider joining Nature First, the movement for responsible nature photography. This is a global initiative to help recover the role of nature photographers as caretakers and ambassadors of the natural world. There are no membership fees, no ads, no gimmicks, just an opportunity to be part of this global initiative of nature photographers dedicated to caring for the natural world. You can learn more at naturefirstphotography.org.
So let's go back on to what people were asking or what people were saying they used in the Vlogcast Facebook page then. And you put it up, Matt, and you started it off with case, eh?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And that's got the most votes.
Hang on.
By the looks of things.
Ooh.
You ain't got it up now, have you?
I've got it up, yeah. Seven. Yeah.
7 votes, yeah.
Look, as I said, I mean, we didn't get as much feedback on this question as we did about tripods, and I think, as I said, I think it's because not as many people are using
filters anymore.
Anymore. You can't live without a tripod. Some people can live without a filter. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why we didn't get as much feedback. It does give you a rough idea of what people are using, isn't it? So Case was the first one, 7 votes for Case, and obviously Andrew, you voted for that one.
Yeah, of course he's gonna. I wonder why he voted for it. Eh?
Oh, I wonder. Thanks for that, Andrew. Thanks for that. It'd be interesting if it was like Andrew Yu, Lee Filters. Be like, hey, what's going on there? Yeah.
And then next up's Nissy.
Yes. Yeah, we've got Nissy Filters. So, I mean, the guys that I know on this one, a lot of them are actually Pentax photographers. Right. They're probably using Nissy Filters because of that wide angle holder that I was talking about. So they've gone for Nissy. I got Phil Payne and Steve Everett here, mates of mine, and they're the systems they're using, and they're UK-based photographers. So
yeah, I see Steve Everett's actually using the next one as well, which is Lee.
Oh, he's using both of them. Okay, yeah. So Lee once upon a time was the biggest selling filter system on the market, and you can see now that people are still using them.
Yeah,
be interesting to find out how many people are using resin Lee or using their Pro Glass.
Yeah.
Good.
Because their Pro Glass is you need to get a mortgage to buy that Pro Glass.
Yeah. Is it neutral though? Is that Pro Glass neutral now? Because I know Lee used to have a really bad cast on it.
Oh, horrendous cool cast.
Yeah.
Like really bad.
That's why I still steer clear of them.
The big and little stopper. Oh
yeah.
And like people used to say to me, like in videos, because I used to use them, and they were like, "Oh, why are you bitching about the color cast and that? You just change the white balance afterwards." I'm like, "Yeah, I know it's not a problem, but when you spent 120 quid on it,
that's right.
Why?
Why do you have to do extra work to get rid of it? Yeah.
Why? When you can buy Case or Breakthrough or those other ones, I'm sure are more neutral. Nissy were quite... Nissy
are neutral, yeah.
They were quite neutral. They were more magenta than blue, but it wasn't nowhere near as bad as Lee.
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
So after Lee, then we have Kokin.
There you go. Jeez, we've got 2 people using them.
Yeah, they're high up, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't got mass amounts of numbers here, guys, to work off, but it just gives you a rough idea of sort of where filters are standing, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah, definitely.
It's interesting that people are still using Koken filters. Maybe they've changed. Like I said, I'm not that updated with filters in over the last 18 months, so maybe they've brought out something now.
Yeah.
But, Koken, if I pulled out old stuff, it's resin crap, basically. Yeah, cheap filters, wobbly, plastic, no aluminium, no magnesium, just cheap stuff that we just had good marketing back in the day, and they could sell their name on magazines, and there wasn't much options out there. Yeah. Back then, back in those days, there were no Chinese brand camera gear, and it was just, the French, the English, and a couple of Japanese and American brands. There wasn't much to choose from. Then the Chinese market hit it all, and it's kind of changed it. And I think with a lot of these brands, they've done quite well. Like I was saying with tripods, a lot of these brands too, the glass is all made in the same factory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's all made under the one factory. It's all cut to size, cut to specs. It gets sent off. Some of these companies put their own coatings over the top of them when they get sold off, and they get branded. Probably one thing that makes, I suppose, with what you're using, Paul, is that the breakthrough are actually made in California, I believe. It's 100% made in California. They're actually importing their Scott glass directly from Germany.
Yeah, German shot glass, yeah.
Yeah, it is a German engineered glass, so they bring it in directly from Germany and treating it there in California, and whereas Nizzy and Case, for example, I mean, I could be wrong because things could be different. This is a lot of rumours I've heard over the years, but a lot of this German engineered glass was, shipped out to these Chinese factories and then basically cut into shape and then sold off to all these brands, and all they did was put coatings on them, basically. So, same sort of story with the tripods like we talked about before.
Yeah.
But the quality of them are quite good, though. I'm quite surprised. There's a big difference with quality with these filters.
And then we're on to Format High Tech after that.
Oh.
Now, I thought they would have been further up the list, to be honest. But
yeah, they've sort of took a back seat a little bit, haven't they? They've been sort of forgot about it a little bit, I would say.
And when you think about it, when you see the photography shows and stuff like that, they've got quite a big presence.
They do.
Yeah, I know some photographers that are Format High Tech ambassadors, and they're up there, I would say, in quality.
Yeah.
What's their glass like? I'm not that.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm familiar with the name, but
I don't know what the coatings they use,
isn't it? Yeah, unless you're using something all the time, it's difficult to know what each brand's glass is like.
There's a chap, Stephen Hanna.
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah, Stephen Hanna. Yeah,
he's Irish photographer.
Irish photographer. Yeah.
Me and him chat, here and there. And I've followed his YouTube channel for a long time, and he's been a Format High Tech ambassador for years, and he swears by them. He loves them, and he's obviously stuck by them. So I would value his experience quite high, in my opinion. So yeah,
okay.
I would like to have a look at them and see what they're like. But
yeah,
I heard good things about them.
So after that, we're on to the next one, which is Haida.
German brand.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're quite a good filter system.
Yeah.
Very good name.
Yeah.
Probably don't advertise themselves as much as a lot of the other brands out there.
No.
I know a couple of pros that use them and swear by them.
Do they not make a bigger system than Matt. Do they not make a big holder?
How you do?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
They? For wide angle
Yeah.
lens.
They do, but I mean, back when I was getting mine, they weren't as the same as Nizzy. They didn't have this resistance that the case had. They still use Scott glass, very neutral glass, but didn't have the same resistance coatings that the case had available at the time. For me, that was a pretty important player. Like I said, I'm a clumsy bugger, and I need. And two, if I'm going to go and shoot a beach scene where there's waves, the tripod's actually in the water, like I'm in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know how many times? It actually happened to me a couple of years ago, actually, when I was at home. I went and found this beach I'd never been to, and I started seeing photos of it. I thought, God, guys are going to photograph that beach now. I've got to go there and I've got to go and shoot before it gets famous.
Yeah.
So I went down there, I ran down this hill, I got there, and the waves were pumping, and I've just got the tripod out and boom, 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 I've stuck it straight on the beach, and there's this wave coming for me. I've just gone, yeah, you fucker, like that. And the wave, I took the shot, the wave completely went over my head, bang. Camera, tripod, everything. But you know what? Nothing fell. The camera stayed still. Oh, that was fantastic. But anyway,
good old Pentax, mate? Hey?
Yeah. I just grabbed a bottle of water and just poured it over the top of the camera, and it was clean. So
they melt down tanks about them, don't they?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm clumsy. For resistance for me, it's just so important. Especially, I like to be out in conditions where the weather it's going to test you. It's, I want to be there before a storm is in your face. You're in the eye of a storm and you're taking your shot, because that's half the beauty of capturing that moment, isn't it? That people don't see. And, in that moment, you're going to get, Mother Earth is going to play a trick on you. So why not have resistant stuff? That's what all my gear's resistant for that. 100%. Those reasons.
Yeah.
You drop your filter in a muddy beach or puddle or whatever. You want to be able to pick it up, wipe it, and stick it back on.
That's right.
You don't want to have to think, be careful of that. And then the next minute it's all gone and you missed it. You just need to be able to use it.
That's right.
So next one is B&W, and they're quite a well-known brand as well, I suppose. But maybe more so in the States, I think.
B&W.
I've never heard of them.
B&W. I know some of the bigger American companies like Adorama and places like this that sell photographic gear tend to sell a lot of B&W gear.
Yeah, the name rings a bell. I just never really thought about it. B&W, okay. Yeah. All right.
And then there's breakthrough filters.
There you go.
Yeah. And then there's me. Yeah.
And there's you.
Yeah.
Never know, mate. After this weekend, there might be me as well. Don't worry about it. Two of us.
Yeah. All two of us.
If Andrew's listening, he'd
be on the phone to you next. What are you doing?
I'm only joking. No. Oh, yeah. I need to get on and make some ND CPLs. That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
No,
and then we're into H&Y.
H&Y. Oh, they're horrible names, really. I mean, come on, guys. You got to make yourself a filter company. Give yourself a good name, for God's sake.
Concept.
B&W, H&Y, K&F. I mean, come on, guys. Yeah. Call your filters, I don't know, the Eagle or something, or
and that's the lot, really. And then the last one is none.
There's none.
Which is one vote, which is
H&Y is a good one to bring up. That pre-pandemic was starting to make itself a bit of a name, and I don't know what happened to it, but they've got some damn good filters out there, guys. They use a different glass again. It's called Gorilla Glass.
Oh, yeah, it's like this super strong stuff. Yeah.
It's Gorilla Glass. It's been around for a long time, Gorilla Glass. So
Gorilla Glass that's what they make iPhone cases at.
I think they do.
screens.
I think so too.
That's Gorilla Glass, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just full-blown resistant glass and neutral. And so K&F started making these filters, and they came out with this new filter system called a variable filter or variant. Yeah, which I can't remember how it was. It was actually like one filter holder with a filter built into it that would fit any lens. You just go, and I'll just go over the top.
Yeah,
it's like a variable ND, isn't it? And then they just did it sell adapter rings?
I think it's an adapter. The actual adapter itself is like you got these 4 teeth that actually sit behind the actual mount itself. And if you actually force it down, it'll just
it spreads to the sides of your lens, doesn't it?
And then locks in around the outside. So it can fit. It's like a universal system. You don't need a threaded system. It just locks straight on over the top. And that looked like it was going to take off. And I'm not quite sure what happened with HMY, but I think it might be that they're quite expensive too. They're not.
Is this H&Y now you're on about, or K&F?
No, H&Y, no. K&F. K&F, no. I didn't even know K&F. They make them too, do they? I don't think they'd be any good, though. Yeah, their tripods are pretty average, so I don't think their filters would be any good either, would they, really?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, it's 190 quid.
Yeah, okay.
But I suppose if you're only buying one of them for all your lenses, then it's not that expensive, is it?
You're going to save. I mean, God, if I look at all the filter systems I've got here over the years, I've got, I don't know, 1,500 quid worth of filters.
Yeah, it says here
easy.
58 to 77 mil.
58 to 77.
Yeah, variable ND.
And then you would have a 77 to 86, I would presume.
Yeah, you must have, you must be able to buy one,
So that might be
interesting.
People that, looking at getting a filter system, it could be a good option too. But Tom and I recommend Case. You're a Case ambassador. I'm not an ambassador for filters. So.
Case are good, yeah. I can't really fault them, really. Other than that we talked about earlier with the,
for sure,
with the rotating of the polarizer, it's a little bit strong. But then I would be moaning if it kept falling off.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think the problem is the strength in the magnet. It's like you said, and like kind of what Breakthrough have sort of got a one up on is that they've sort of said, no, we're not making a slim one. We're going to make them slightly thicker so they're more ergonomic in your hand.
Yeah, that's right.
And they've gone down like a route of making it all in one, haven't they? Like, like a CPL with an ND.
Yeah.
So they can get away making it thicker, whereas I think Case has thought, well, we're going to make a stackable system, in which case they need to make them thinner. To get rid of vignetting.
Yeah, but you got to remember at the same time, like I was talking about, Paul, before, I mean, optically, okay, if you want to permanently use a CPL and an ND permanently, which I can't fathom that idea too much. I would prefer to be able to use one of them or the other, or sometimes both.
Yeah.
So having the actual system as one unit, I actually think it would, for a full-blown pixel peeper to sit there and study 2 images separately, I think they would find that optically it would actually decrease the quality of the final image. Having this thicker glass, look, from what I knew in the past, anyone who really knew what they were talking about, I mean, there's guys out there that have been using filter systems for years, and there's ambassadors out there. I know one bloke over here in Italy is completely mad on filters. And I remember him saying back then, showed me statistics and things of, different rays and different, systems. And look, 18 to 24 months ago, that people didn't talk about them that well. But, then again, technology's changed. It could be different.
Yeah.
I think the idea of Case actually doing it, this magnetic, it's a great idea, but just on the outside thread, just give it some grip, because control, especially with the polarizer, is just so important. You want full control over what you're doing with the polarizer, don't you?
Yeah, it's a tricky one though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's a tricky which way. I can appreciate why they've done what they've done. Because they want to make them thin, lightweight, smaller box, it's, a smaller pouch. So I can understand why they've done it. I don't begrudge them for doing it.
Right, so we'll call it quits there, guys. Thanks very much for coming. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you all on the next one. Take care.
Thank you. Can I just put in one last thing before we leave?
Yeah, of course.
For those of you that are listening, if there's anything you want us to discuss, please give us some feedback. And last 2 podcasts we've talked about gear, and it seemed that people wanted to discuss gear. So if there's anything out there you want us to discuss, post-production tips, NFTs, for example, which Paul's getting experience on.
Yeah.
How to set up a YouTube channel, for example, anything photography related, or if you want us to interview somebody, please let us know, even on the Facebook group. Make a comment there, and, we're out there for everyone. So we want to put out content for what our listeners want to hear. So that would be really good if you could do that, guys.
Oh, yeah, head over to the Facebook group and just come and join and stick a comment down. And we, and if one of us, if definitely Matt will read all of them, and and we'll get some else set up.
For sure.